Hey everybody, I'm Green Havoc, and this is ESHQ's Stage Stats.
Justice reigns from above. No one can hide from my sight.
Cheers, love! The cavalry's here!
And welcome to Stage Stats. So, the team we're going to be looking at today is the San Francisco Shock. Now, the San Francisco Shock did not have the greatest Stage 1 performance in the Overwatch League, ending the stage at 3-7 and far away from the playoffs. But let's go ahead and look at some of their overall stats as a team to see where they really stand up against some of the other competition. Let's start with their map records. Taking a look at the San Francisco Shock's overall map record, at 16 wins, 24 losses, and 2 ties, they may not be exactly where they want to be, but this is a score line that tells you they're a team that can still put it together. They've got some parts coming in, they've got some parts moving around, but let's go ahead and break it down even further and see some of the individual map records. So breaking it down even further, let's take a look at the spreadsheet on the screen. Now, obviously, from what we know from the overall map record, they do have a losing streak, but where they seem to be struggling the most are Lunar Colony, Eichenwald. I mean, those two, and then the escort maps in general could be cleaned up a bit. Let's switch over to our home and away screen graphs, where we're going to take a look at what the perfect scores for home and away could have been as the defenders first versus attackers first. Taking a look at the home and away stat breakdown. Now, for a lot of the teams, the home and away doesn't really matter, but for all of the California teams, they can drum up quite a bit of support, especially when they get to wear the home colors. Ultimately, though, the San Francisco Shock had a kind of a more impressive record on their offensive side. Now, when they start away, so they start as the offensive team, which tells me that they're far more comfortable being that aggressive team and setting the pace of the game with their offense more than their defense, especially when you look at Numbani, where they had 3 wins to 1 loss while they were the offensive team, while they got to be the aggressive team first. Whereas on Eichenwald, where they defended first more, they had 2 losses, 1 tie. It's clear to me that setting the pace with their offense is what the San Francisco Shock like to do. And maybe it's because, again, they're a little more predictable, as the reasons we talked about in just a bit ago in the episode, that those unflexible parts maybe are helped by just being able to set the tone with, we get the picks, we get the frags, we go in, we take our advantage. Whereas with the defense, since the enemy team gets to be a little more flexible and decide how the game's played, their defense crumbles more quickly because they don't get to set that stage of, hey, by the way, you need to claim, this amount of points to catch up to us. So they like to set the tone to, hey, you got to come play catch up. So let's take a look at a little more individual. I guess you could say let's break it down again and look at the individual players. At the San Francisco Shock's overall kill to death ratios, we see the San Francisco Shock racked up 1,781 kills to 1,965 deaths, which means they are negative 184 in their kill to death ratio, which is ultimately not too terrible, but obviously I'm sure they would like to see themselves at least slightly in the positive, though Mercy's only getting 22 something kills to hundreds and hundreds of deaths. It adds up pretty quick. So the San Francisco Shock's team makeup, what they like to run, is ultimately pretty straightforward. We saw a lot of mirror matches, especially in this first stage with the Mercy meta being so prevalent. and Winston and D.Va being so powerful. Basically, they ran the standard comp that everyone else was, which was the 2 tanks being D.Va Winston, the 2 healers being Mercy Zenyatta, Tracer being the the main DPS, if you will, and the other DPS rotating. The main ones we saw from the San Francisco Shock were Widowmaker, Genji, Pharah, McCree, and Soldier. For the most part, their team makeups averaged around, I'd say, 40% win rate, the highest being 50%, the lowest being a 27% fight win rate. So ultimately, the San Francisco Shock still have a lot that they can clean up on. I think they need to find a way to create some unpredictability in maybe the heroes they play, or the strategies they play, how they play them, how they attack, and especially how they defend. Now, some of that is going to be made for them with the Mercy meta coming to an end. So how will they, San Francisco, adapt to no more Mercy as just the end-all be-all support? I guess only time will tell. But for this episode of Stage Stats San Francisco Shock, I'm Green Havoc, and I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Hey everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video from ESHQ. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out. It lets us know what kind of content you enjoy most, and really gives us some direction for future content. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful day.